What if you traveled for work and bought a souvenir from an antique shop? While cleaning it, you suddenly saw a big muscular genie, asking for 3 wishes. But you don't have any desire, so you ask him for an impossible wish that shocks the genie. And that is, to love you. Welcome to What a Story. The story starts with British academic, Alithea, flying alone to Istanbul to deliver a seminar on the relationship between science and mythology. As Alithea gets off the aircraft, a peculiar-looking luminous guy, that no one else sees, tries to direct her baggage cart, but when Alithea's co-workers arrive, the strange man flees. In response to Alithea's description of what transpired, her pals quip that she must have witnessed a djinn or a genie. Later in the conference, Alithea notices a second weird luminous figure among the attendees that no one else can see. The strange man labels her explanation ridiculous, and suddenly leaps on her, leaving her unconscious. Within minutes after falling asleep, her co-workers wake her up and lead her to her room while the audience applauds. Once the conference is complete, Alithea walks downtown to look around in antique stores, assuring her friends that she is well. She chooses a fascinating small blue bottle in one of these stores over anything finer. The following day in the hotel, she washes the bottle and finally manages to open it, letting a djinn out, who takes over much of the room. After attempting several other languages, Alithea finds that djinn speaks Greek, and he gets to tell her why she shouldn't be scared of him. Now that he is obligated to her, he will grant her 3 wishes. However, she is not permitted to ask for any further desires, perpetual life, or the end of all pain. Djinn touches everything in the room while he speaks, turns on the television, and swiftly picks up English through its broadcasts. Djinn then begs Alithea for her heart's desires, but Alithea is uneasy with the idea, and wants time to consider it. She begins by telling a portion of her story that she has never told anyone. She had always preferred to be alone, even as a young girl attending an all-girls boarding school. One day, an imaginary friend started coming to see her, comforting her whenever she was down, telling her stories in a language they could only share. Alithea began writing down everything about this kid since she didn't know how long he would be around. Yet, the more real she attempted to add, the more she began questioning it, and felt foolish. She eventually burnt it all in the school's furnace, and ever since then, she hasn't run across the boy. The arrival of Alithea's breakfast interrupts the chat, but she doesn't open the door until the djinn disappears. As Alithea turns back, after hanging the "Don't Disturb" sign on the doorknob, she discovers that djinn has shrunk and upgraded the basic hotel breakfast. Alithea asks djinn how he landed inside her bottle, to buy some time before she makes a wish. He replies that it's his 3rd incarceration since he's always been a fool falling for women. It all started when djinn fell in love with his cousin Sheba, the ruler of the realm, who was half djinn, and had thick black hair covering her legs. Djinn was her confidant and plaything, yet he still felt free because he could come and leave whenever he wanted. Unfortunately, when King Solomon traveled through deserts to court her, circumstances changed, and he could no longer fulfill his dream of becoming her spouse. Sheba vowed that no mortal would ever be able to defeat her, but finally succumbed to his charms, and even had her leg hair waxed off so they could spend the night together. Solomon, however, was able to perceive Sheba's relationship with djinn, so using his magic abilities, he trapped him in a brass bottle, which he threw to a bird, and dropped in the middle of the Red Sea. He raged against his fate and pleaded to every god under the sun for release, during the first 100 years since djinns could not sleep. Ultimately, he played a deception on himself and prayed to stay within the bottle, hoping that appearing to want for nothing would make the suffering go away. Regrettably, for djinns, being without desires is almost as bad as dying. They are now back to talking about Alithea's wish. Despite having no children, parents, or siblings, she is successful, and has all she needs. She was previously married to a man she met at school, but their union fell apart when she experienced a miscarriage, and they later separated. Alithea still retains some of her husband's belongings in a box, even though he left with a new partner. She acknowledges that her husband had once said she could not read emotions. She likes stories because they allow her to experience emotions. Still, Alithea doesn't want her husband back. She felt independent when she divorced. But as a storyteller, she's heard too many stories about Jinn's wishes always having a catch that doesn't end happily. Jinn swears he's honorable, but Alithea doesn't listen and wonders if she can make no wishes. This causes Jinn to swell up in pain, confirming that wishes must be made to avoid harmful consequences, and to prove the point further, Jinn tells Alithea the story of his second imprisonment. Fishermen found the bottle inside a fish, but because it was covered in a hard layer, they thought it was a rock and threw it away. The rock changed hands many times until it became part of a wall, where Gultan found it, while trying to climb up to spy on Prince Mustafa. Gultan lived as a slave in the palace's courtyard of the concubines, and fainted when she opened the bottle to find Jinn. When she woke up, she quickly knew what to wish for. She wanted to be one of Mustafa's concubines. Jinn granted her the wish, and Gultan enjoyed her new life after hiding the bottle under a heavy floor tile. While waiting for the other two wishes to come, Jinn wandered the place and learned about humans. That's how his attention fell on Hurrem, the Sultan's favorite slave. Hurrem was a brilliant manipulator, who kept a close eye on the prince to safeguard the throne for her sons rather than Prince Mustafa. Gultan ignored Jinn's warnings that she would be drawn into some terrible political scheme, and longed to become pregnant with Prince Mustafa's child. The Sultan's soldiers, however, considered overthrowing him because they were concerned that their commander was growing too weak for his position. Hurrem learned of this and informed the Sultan that Mustafa was organizing the troops to take over his father's reign, forcing the Sultan to make a difficult decision. Gultan never attempted to go unnoticed this time. Instead, she proudly displayed her bloated tummy throughout the palace, convinced she was expecting the future prince. When the Sultan learned of this, he finally made up his mind. He summoned Mustafa to his tent and executed him without questioning his allegiance.
Baba?
Jinn went to meet Gultan, to warn her that they would come for her next, and ask for the third wish as soon as he learned of this, but she didn't trust him and rushed right into the assassin's clutches. Jinn attempted to stop them, but one of the assassins had the power to prevent him. When Gultan was tossed into the water, Jinn tried to save her, but it was too late. Jinn was now bound to this world due to a third unfulfilled wish, preventing him from entering the realm of Jinn until he could find a new master. Jinn reiterates that having no wishes equates to his death and continues his tale to support this claim. Jinn traveled as an ethereal force when Gultan died, and his bottle remained tucked away beneath the floor tile. He unsuccessfully attempted to attract people's attention for a century, before Princes Murad and Ibrahim finally felt his presence and discovered the hidden place. Their mother Kozum, the widow of the Sultan, intercepted them just as they were about to push the floor tile up. Unfortunately, at 14, Murad had to take over the kingdom, and his life became all politics. While an older Murad led forces on the battlefield, Kozum kept adult Ibrahim in a chamber with various women, thinking he would deliver a male heir and protect the family's seat on the throne. Ibrahim cherished the thought of spending every day with ladies, and he specifically sought out voluptuous beauties. The more flesh there was, the greater the enjoyment. After the war, Murad returned to the palace, his soul rotting from the pain and blood. Concerned about potential competition, he considered killing Ibrahim, but Kozum intervened by saying that Ibrahim was too sluggish to organize a riot. However, Kozum couldn't risk losing her baby maker, so she kept Murad intoxicated and employed storytellers to divert his attention. Although Murad despised them, and would kill them if they didn't flee quickly, an elderly man eventually won him over with his tales, and became Murad's only friend. After the old man passed away, Murad became severely inebriated, and because of his frail mental state, Jinn was finally able to catch his attention. While Murad was able to locate the abandoned secret room once more, he was sadly too frail even to open the door. Murad continued drinking till he was unable to wake up again. Since no one else could sense djinn at the time, Alithea can empathize with how lonely it can be. To continue the story, Ibrahim had to be pulled from his room to the throne, where he named Sugar Lump, his favorite concubine, as governor of Damascus. This power liberated Sugar Lump, and soon discovered the hidden room. She accidentally tripped over the tile due to her stature, which allowed her to find the bottle. When Djinn appeared before Sugar Lump, she didn't believe him. Sugar Lump suspected Djinn of being a trickster and hoped he was still in his bottle. In Alithea's opinion, this tale further proves why wishing is a horrible idea. She believes she could offer Djinn to someone more receptive to the idea, but Djinn won't return to the bottle. After that, Alithea quickly makes 3 stupid wishes, such as one for a drink of her tea. Consequently, they are ineffective since the wishes must come from the heart. Djinn accuses Alithea of being a coward during the quarrel, and Alithea responds by questioning whether she should have wished they had never met.
Never met.
Djinn cries out and begs her to stop as his bottle shatters, and an abrupt force briefly causes the electronics to malfunction. When Alithea speculates that this has happened before, Djinn tells the third and final story. Zafir was an orphan, married at 12 to a wealthy merchant older than her. Zafir thought everyone in the home, even the servants, was constantly making fun of her because the merchant had 2 older wives who didn't like her. Her husband gave her the bottle as a gift, after he witnessed it fall from a fish the cook was preparing. After she was done satisfying him, Zafir succeeded in opening the bottle. She instantly attracted Djinn's attention due to her intelligence, who told her his tale and invited her to share all her creations in her spare time. Unfortunately, because she was a woman, no one took her seriously, and that attitude made her feel like a witch with untapped potential. Her first wish was to have as much knowledge as possible, which Djinn was happy to grant by giving Zafir mountains of books. They hid these books in magic bottles so her husband wouldn't find them. Djinn spent all of his time with her, educating her in various sciences and languages, and finally, the 2 of them developed a romantic relationship. Unfortunately, Djinn's obsession with her meant that whenever Zafir had to devote herself to her husband, Djinn would leave the room, and fly over the sky, collecting new tales to tell Zafir when he returned. When she couldn't solve a complex mathematical problem, her second wish was to have the ability to see the world through Djinn's eyes. She was able to see all the solutions she required as a result, and she also became pregnant with Djinn's baby. He prevented Zafir from granting the third request because he was so content with her, and didn't want to go to the realm of Djinn anymore. Zafir became enraged by this, and believed Djinn was trapping her as her spouse had. Zafir could no longer handle it, and wished she could never have met Djinn. She was able to forget everything instantly, and Djinn once more became trapped inside the bottle. After hearing the last tale, Alithea now understands what to ask for. She believes she is here to love Djinn, and hopes he will feel the same way about her so they can spend their solitudes together. Djinn agrees, and the 2 of them have a great night. Alithea provides Djinn with a new bottle the next day so he can go with her when she leaves for her home in London. She tries to carry the bottle through security at the airport, but is forced to place it on the tray after the scanner picks it up. Fortunately, the bottle makes it through the inspection, saving Alithea from having a nervous breakdown since she was afraid the scanner would shatter the glass. Djinn struggles to adjust to the enormous metropolis once they reach there, since the noises and electric surges overwhelm his senses. When Alithea needs to go to work, Djinn takes advantage of the opportunity to sneak about, and see humanity's most recent innovations, such as cutting-edge surgical procedures. When Alithea returns from work one afternoon, she discovers Djinn asleep in the basement, which is unusual. Due to the city's impact on him, his body is slowly turning to ash, so Alithea uses her second wish to get him to speak again. Following a crucial discussion, Alithea finally chooses to set Djinn free after realizing she shouldn't have pushed love between them. The bottle breaks and Djinn returns to his original realm after Alithea falls asleep. The following day, she stores the few items Djinn was able to utilize, next to her husband's. Alithea has finished compiling and drawing a book including all of Jinn's tales 3 years later. She is shocked as Jinn unexpectedly appears in front of her. Now that he's feeling better, he can stop by occasionally and help her combat her loneliness more naturally. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next story.